I mean, you saw, in the brief, what is the brief of various religious groups, one of dark greens. So really look over that 12-year period. We've been getting our sample from 2005 to 2017. There weren't 284 different flags. There were 50 different flags. And moreover, because some ran twice or three times, I guess. And it says, of those 50 different flags, 45%, 90% of them, which means 45, I guess, were like national flags or regional flags. And then of the remaining 5, we had one for Columbus Day, one for Veterans Day, one for Bunker Hill Day, and the other 2 might have been Gay Pride and something like that. And of course, we didn't go through all this control. There wasn't any need to. I mean, sure, those flags are right. That doesn't show they're going to have every conceivable group, including the KKK and so forth. So what do we do about the record in that? Because that isn't really in the record. I don't think what I just read you. Is it? Maybe it is. And then the other question that related that I would have is go to Boston, go look at the City Plaza. I mean, you see 3 flagpoles, and there are flags, and and they're right in front of the City Hall, and 2 of them, one the state, one the national, national flag. And this third one, I mean, what are you going to think? Of course you think it has something to do with the city, something. So they're saying, look, on the one hand, anybody in his right mind would think it does have something to do with the city. And number 2, there isn't some huge diversity for any group in sight. All there is the flag of Paraguay, and a couple of exceptions for groups that we support.
Justice Breyer, on your last point, taking that first, in the petition appendix on page 142 and then also on 145 to 146, there is a second flag, and that's why they use the word flag poles. The one that was at issue here was the flagpole near the other 3 in front of City Hall. The second flagpole is part of their public forum as well, and it's on Congress Street, parallel to the city. And in fact, it's the Bunker Hill flag, the picture in the appendix, that's actually raised on that Congress Street flagpole.
And that's just the back of the City Hall, isn't it?
The background might be the City Hall, depends upon which way you take the photograph, but it's not in front of the city, and it's not near any other government flags. It stands alone by itself. And as it relates to whether or not certain groups have historically taken advantage of this forum, doesn't mean that the forum is ever limited. In fact, the 2018 policy had the advantage of Mattal, Walker, Summum, and our litigation, and nevertheless decided not to close or limit the subject matters or speakers.
I guess, though, that one of the points that Justice Breyer was making is if you're on the street in Boston and looking over to City Hall and see these 3 flagpoles, and now you say there's maybe a 4th, but the 3 are sort of together, why would you think that this is anything other than the government flying a flag?
I think when you look at that, Justice Kagan, you're going to see one that's clearly government speech, as Justice Breyer was referring to in terms of limiting. You have the United States flag always up, and underneath it is always the POW MIA flag. It's always there. That's clearly the government speech.
Right, and then there's the Commonwealth flag, and then there's this 3rd flagpole, and you've walked the street many times, and mostly you've seen the City of Boston's flag on it, but occasionally you see another flag on it. Why wouldn't you think that this is the City of Boston deciding to put up a substitute flag for its own purposes?
Because an informed observer would understand the history, the policy, and also see the...
Wow, that is very, very informed. I mean, that is not your typical person who walks the street in Boston. And, all they know is I've seen the City of Boston flag here 1,000 times, and now I see another flag. It must be the City of Boston decided to do something else today.
Well, the observer would also see the private event that's coinciding at the same time as the private flag raising, because the private event gathering down there by the base of the flag would happen, as in this case was designed to do. Camp Constitution was going to gather around the base while for 1 hour having an event that would temporarily raise the flag and bring it down. The reason
Is it true that one of the flags that has been displayed